Hi everyone. So this is actually going to be my second last video of this project because I totally forgot that next Wednesday is still June. So that will be our last Wednesday, but what I'm going to do today is I am going to show you how to construct, or how I'm going to construct my journal and how you might like to do it. And I still do have one more page to finish off. So what I'll do is I'll show you how I'm going to construct it this week, and then next week I will come back and show you it completely done, preferably with my outside sort of wrap done as well, and my final page, and I'll show you the whole thing. So it doesn't have to be this week for everyone. Don't feel pressured to finish. In fact, just finish whenever you want. Doesn't matter when you're done. And next week I'll come back and show you my finished journal. The other thing is I will also produce another video by next week as well with the proper intro to our winter journal of stitchery or Christmas journal of stitchery. And I will come back and show you what kinds of things I'm putting in my kits, because I still have a bit of work to do there. I was hoping to have it done for this week, but I'm not quite ready. I've been super busy at work, but I go on holidays on Friday, so I'll be able to get a lot done early next week and have them ready to sell at some stage next week, but I'll announce it on YouTube. So I just wanted to show you that I'm pretty much done with all my pages except for that final extra page that I need to do. So you've seen all of this. So this was my first signature that's ready to go. And then this is my second one. So I'm just going to show you how I put this one together. I showed you how I was going to work it last week so that it had 6 pages rather than adding in an extra signature at the end. So I've got my bird block there, and then on the back was my bug block, my butterfly block. And then I have finished, I feel like I'm finished now. Just make sure you're focused. I feel like I've finished all little stitching down the bottom for the garden, which is what I wanted to get done. So that is my house block. I also added on a bit of thread there. I added on an extra trim there, did a bit of green stitching just to add some more interest. And then I've stitched down my birdie block, which is finished as well. It's nice and puffy the way it's actually quite thick once you sew it all together, because that was an old quilt piece, so it's quite thick, that center page. And then I've tried to stitch down my love page now. As you saw last week, my love page was a little bit big, so I have moved it right in as far as I can, and it does extend just slightly over the edge, but that will be okay. So you can see I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will need my final block, which will go on the back. So technically I have, I guess, 2 signatures to stitch in, but as you can see there's kind of 3 sections. So I'm going to show you how I will prepare this page here to be stitched in, and then this one I won't stitch in on video this week, but I will have that done for next week so that I can add that final page. Okay, so this is what I need to do. So I'm just going to put that to the side. I've got my Reader's Digest book, and what I've got, I'm going to do a technique for you junk journalers. You're going to be very familiar with this technique already. It's called a hidden spine technique. So what it means is that my pages will be attached to a piece of cardboard, which I'm going to cover with some fabric. And the piece of cardboard I'll then attach to the spine. So the signature will actually be stitched to that cardboard, which will be the spine, and then the spine stuck down. So on the outside, there won't be any stitching coming through the book spine here. It'll be on the inside. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So firstly, this is just a piece. I've just cut off like an edge, like a straight bit like that off this packing box. So it's reasonably thick cardboard. And it actually fits quite nicely into my book. If you didn't have a nice piece that automatically fits nicely, obviously you could always measure it. And just to give you an idea of the dimensions, we're looking at just under, it's a little bit, cut a little bit crooked, but we're looking at just under 1.5 inches, or it's just on 1.5 inches there. And then the height of my book is 7.5 inches, so I'll probably cut this at 7 1/4 inch because I don't want it going right up to the top. I just have it just below the top. Okay, so the width is already good. So I've got so much stuff on my table. Just going to measure out 7 1/4 inch. About that will do. And then just trimming it down. Okay, so now my little extra piece of cardboard spine sits right inside of that edge there. That will fit perfectly. Now what I actually want to do is I want to cover it with some fabric. The spine, I'm going to, this is like an old piece, I think it's a tea towel, an old tea towel. Because it's going to get glued down. Now this is the part where I am using glue. I'm not going to be able to use stitching for this. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece of this fabric. I might go this side, it's a torn edge. And I want it to extend quite a bit beyond the centerpiece. So I'll just show you, I'm just eyeballing the cutting. Across the top a little bit larger than the piece of cardboard. You can see it extends out. I'll tell you the dimensions. It's only approximate. So we're looking at just under 5.5 inches wide. And I've gone to 8 and about 1/4 inches long. What I'm going to do is glue this cardboard piece onto my fabric. I'm just going to put, let me grab, I'm just grabbing a scrap bit of cardboard so I don't get glue on my felt mat. Off the back of an old scrapbooking pad. The glue that I'm using, now I know a lot of people have the Fabri-Tac, which would work perfectly well. I don't have Fabri-Tac. I'm just going to use plain old PVA hobby craft glue. Okay, the white craft glue. It's not going to come out when my lid's stuck on. I haven't used this one for a while. Try again. Just putting something into a lid. Oh, be good if I gave it a shake. Ooh, this one's a bit gross. I don't know. Let me see if it's going to work. It's kind of had a liquid that's come out before the glue. Okay, and here's the glue. I'll have to mix it all in. Like I said, I haven't used this tub for quite a long time. Ooh, it's a bit glooby. Okay, let's see if it's going to work. Otherwise, I'll have to get another one out. I've got another bottle. Yeah, it doesn't look so good. It's quite thick. I need to mix it in with whatever that liquid is that came out first. I find this glue is quite good though. I've used it a lot in projects and it sticks really well. It's just a cheap craft glue. Okay, that looks better. So just an old paintbrush. Leave my fabric away for a minute. And I'm going to lather up quite thickly on my cardboard. Making sure I'm covering it all over the place. Okay, that's quite thick. Lay my fabric down. Don't think it really matters, they're pretty much the same on both sides. this way. And I'm just eyeballing it and trying to get it approximately in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, it really doesn't matter. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, am I on camera? Yes. I'm just doing a little snip here, a straight snip down to the cardboard. I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'm just going to trim off the edge up to the cardboard, just freehand cutting it. Okay, you'll see why I'm doing this in a minute. Okay, just making sure that's nice and smooth and that there's no wrinkles on that side. What I just want to do is I want to cover the end of the cardboard so that you can't see that it's cardboard in there. I'm just covering it with the fabric so it will look just a bit better. Just tipping that over, and what I'll do, I'll get myself a little clip and I'll clip that down so that it stays in place until it dries. So same on the other end. Nice covering of glue and fold it over. Actually, I don't even think I need a clip. I think that's going to hold. Okay, so that when you look on the top end, it's nicely covered in fabric. I can always snip away those extra little strings that are hanging out. Can you see how it's covered? Just there. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to let this dry. Okay, and then I will show you how I'm going to attach my pages. They'll attach here. And once my pages are attached, then this little spine will get glued in there and the fabric will get glued down as well. By using fabric rather than cardboard across the whole piece, I'm just going to have more flexibility so that my book can open and close, because the fabric will be more flexible. Okay, so I'll come back in a little while once I feel like this is dried, because I'm going to be stitching through it and I don't want it to be wet. Okay, so I'll be back soon. Okay, so I'm back and my fabric is, I think it's quite dry and it looks like it's pretty secure, and I do really like the way the edges are folded over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I would attach my first signature. So I'm going to show you how I attach this one, and then with my other one, which is kind of like my triple page signature, that one I'm going to attach once I've finished that back page. So that one won't be attached yet. But if I at least show you this one, it'll give the idea of what you need to do, and then I'll show you what the steps are after that. I won't complete them all, obviously, because I need to attach my other signature. So the first thing is, I'm just going to turn this way so I can actually see my cardboard. And what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to work out where I'm going to put holes, because I'm going to be stitching through this to attach the signature. And normally when you're doing junk journaling, you might use something like a wax thread or something like that. But because I am doing a fabric journal, I'm actually going to use, I'm thinking, something like one of these kind of, oh, I like this colour. I've got a lot of these. Got lots of colours. sorry, these crochet cottons. I've got heaps of them. I've got different colours. I've got neutrals. I've got thin ones. I've got thick ones. So I think what I'm going to attach mine with is one of these, but I'll work out what colour in a minute. So the first thing is it's a bit odd because I have got that triple page. Like normally it would just be 3 signatures that I'm attaching in, so 3 exactly like this. And what I would do is I would have a hole here, a hole in the middle and a hole on the edge. But because this one here is like a triple one, I am going to stitch through there and I'm going to stitch through there. So it's probably going to be a little bit closer together than what you would normally do if they were separate signatures. So I'm just going to need to think about that for a sec. And what you can do is you would do different holes. So this thing that I'm holding here is called an awl. It's a book awl. I've got several of them, some cheap ones, and I've got some better ones than this. I've got a nice clover one somewhere. Let me see, I think it's in this box. Yeah. Yep, so this is my nice clover one, made by Clover. This is probably my best one. I don't have one of those, I think it's a Japanese screw punch like Rach, but I wouldn't mind getting one day. And what you use the awl for is once you mark out where your holes are going to be, you need to punch a hole through the cardboard and the fabric so that when you stitch, you're going to go directly through that hole. So you've got to decide how many holes you actually want. So normally you might do one in the middle, one at the top and one at the bottom, and you'd have a 3 stitch. But I think I'm going to do several holes. I'm going to have lots of stitching. I think that'll look good. I've never done it before, so I'm going to see how it works. So I've got this nifty tool. You do not have to have one of these tools. You only need something to poke the holes through. Now you can get these awls really cheaply, like this one here that I've got. I think this only cost me a couple of dollars. It didn't cost me much at all. And I'm pretty sure I got it at our like a hobby store Spotlight. It was pretty cheap. Okay, so you don't have to go out and buy something expensive, and you definitely don't have to buy this tool. But this tool is used for bookbinding, and it came with the little pouch which had the pink awl with it, and it shows you how you don't have to do all the measuring because you can use this little device as your guide. And the idea of this, I'll just show you here at the back, hopefully you can see it's not too shiny. You can learn to bind the edge of books with fancy stitches. But it also works well for junk journaling, where you'd put holes in your signature and then you put it in your cover and you'd attach it. So this kind of stitching is what I'm thinking of doing the stitches. I'm thinking every second hole on this device, and I can use this as a guide. So as I said, I wouldn't normally use fabric on this, but we're going to give it a go today. And what I'll be doing is I'll be lining up the edge, and then when I put this over the top, I'll be able to see where the holes go. But the first thing I want to do is I want to work out where my holes, like how close to the side they're going to be. So this is just under 1 1/4 inches. So I'm going to do my first one. I'm going to come in just a little bit from the edge. It's just over 1/4 inch. And to keep my holes in line, I'm just drawing a line on here. Now you won't see this because this will be stuck down in the book. So my holes will go along that line there. Just thinking, is that, because it's kind of weird, like I said, because I've got that uneven signature, it's going to be a bit weird. So I'm thinking I'm actually going to bring it just a little bit further in. Terrible rubber on the end of the pencil, but it will do the job. I'm going to bring it just a tiny bit more in. I don't want it too close to the edge. I think I might go to centimeters, 4 centimeters. I'm going to come in at 1 centimeter in. Okay, 1 centimeter in, and I'll redraw my line. I think that's a bit better, a little bit further in. And then if I go 1 more centimetre across, I'm approximately in the middle of the spine. So they are those lines around 1 centimetre. Now this one I don't think I'm going to need to go as far because it's a little bit closer, so I'm just going to go slightly under 1 centimetre. I'm just approximating. Okay, so let's see, around there. Okay, so now I've got my lines where I'm going to put my holes. Let's have a look at how we can use this nifty device. So, what it's got, if you can just see, it's got a little divot in there. So if you're putting a book signature, like if this was a book signature, you basically put it in, it goes down into the little valley, and then you clip this over the top. Just screw that on. And then all you do is you just work out where you want your holes and you use this as a guide to punch it through. I don't want to go down into the valley because I'm doing my spine. I don't want to bend it. So I'm actually going to go on the flat part. And you flip this over for the flat part. And I'm going to line it right up at the top. And I'm going to screw in my little ends. So this is a bit of a crazy explanation, but hopefully you get the idea. Okay, so now what I do, when I do my holes, actually, I need to actually line my holes up with my lines. So I'm going to need to move this a little bit. Or actually, that third line of holes is lined up with that line, so I'm going to start with that line. So I can work out where I want to go. So I'm going to put a hole in here, and you push it right down through into the device, and it goes down into the holes. Okay, so I've gone there, and I'm going to do every second one. Oops. So pushing it down. And guys, if you don't have one of these devices, as I expect pretty much there wouldn't be many of you that would have it, what we punch down into is, sorry, bumping the camera, is something like this. You can see there's holes there, so I would just line it up. I'd have holes on my thing, and I'd just push down into it, and I'd make holes in an old book. So we actually use old books for that kind of thing. But as I've got my nifty device, it's much easier. And I'm doing a lot of holes. Every second one, it's easy to see which ones I need because they've got the black circles around them. And that's going to be my last one there. So I've gone through the cardboard and then through the fabric as well. Just double checking they're all good. Okay. So I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, can you see? See my holes? See them coming through the fabric on the other side? So it's come out quite nicely on that line. So I want to line up my next line. A bit fiddly this, but once you've got it on, it works really well. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Looks like it's lined up on my line. Screw it on tight. I must say, when I found this device, I just found it on a craft online store in Australia. I got it really cheaply. It was about $15. And then I showed it on video and where I got it, and then about a week later they doubled in price. So I was really glad that I got it when I saw it because they went up straight away, so it was lucky. Okay, with this one I'm now going every second hole, but the ones that are not black. Okay. Bit stiff, that one. Okay, so my second row, and they're nicely lined up next to each other. And now I've got my last row. Now you can make sure, okay, this one's a little bit further over. You can make sure that your dots, hang on, that's not working. Try that again. You can make sure that your dots line up together, so that they're even. So I'm just trying to work it out. Move it up just a tiny bit. Screw on one end. Just trying to even it up on that line because this is where it's not perfectly 1 centimetre apart. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm actually punching all my holes right now, even though I'm only going to add my first signature, my first fabric signature. Okay. Nice and quick. You don't have to measure every single hole, it just measures it for you. And there we have all our rows of holes. Okay. So when it, actually, I'm going to show you now one more thing. When it comes to punching the holes in my signature, I'll be putting it onto the other side that's like a valley. I'll be clipping it down and I'll be doing exactly the same thing. So okay, so then I'll be doing all these holes down the center of my page. So I need to work out, just calculate. So that's got a little valley now. Can you see that there's a bit of a ridge? See there? You can see the up and down. So that kind of pushes. I'm gonna stick it further down the middle. It's gonna be easier because it's fabric and it's thick. Okay, so that's squished down in between. Guys, if this is too complex, the simple thing you can do is one hole up here, one hole in the middle, one hole there. Maybe bring it down, maybe almost an inch from the top and the bottom, and then right in the middle. And you can do it just with 3. I'm doing it with lots because I want to see, I've never done that technique and I want to see how it looks with lots of stitching. So I just need to calculate how many holes I've done. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I need one right in the middle. So let's have a measure. Approximately I reckon that smack bang there is my middle. So just straight down. Yep. And then 13, sorry, how many did I count again? I've lost it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so it was 13. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I must say I wasn't very centered because I've stopped there, which is quite a long way from the edge, and I've stopped there, so I might move that a bit. There you go, learning by mistakes. I've made the holes. What you can probably do, bit of a mistake there, I'm just going to flatten them out. You won't even notice once I stitch it all down because the threads will go over. I'm just flattening them out so I don't get confused. And I'm going to start again, try and get that centered better. Might be a good idea. I've got the glue here. I'm just going to move it so I don't get it on my thing. Okay, let's try again. I'm just eyeballing it between the dots, and I think I will be better centered. And I don't want to run crooked. Okay. Okay, I think that's a little better. Oh well, it's good I make mistakes so that you can try not to make them yourself. Let's try and work out the middle. Okay, so that's my middle dot right there. Do that again. Just double check. There's my middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. I think that's better. Okay. All right, so what I do now, Rachel, you're probably watching me laughing at me trying to work all this out. I haven't made that many journals before, but I think it's going to work, I hope. So what I need to do now is I will be sewing my sampler page onto my little spine. So I'm going to pick, quite like that colour, I'm going to pick this thread. I'm going to make sure I've got a nice long piece because I wouldn't want it running out while I'm trying to stitch. And I'm going to use quite a decent sized needle. Not that one. This is a chenille needle, easy to thread, and it will be easy to get through my signature. Now, I don't need to tie a knot at the end. I am going to start on the back side through my first hole. Okay, and I'm going to leave a tail because I will be tying off, and you won't see the tying off bits because that will be hidden. Okay, then I find my first hole that I made with my book awl, and I'm going to come up through that hole. Okay, take me a little while to get this all in order, but once I've got the hang of it, it'll be good. Okay, so let's leave a tail, nice decent tail. Okay, then I'm going to find my second hole. I'm going to go down and down through my second book hole. And I am pulling my thread the whole way through, and you can tighten this up in a minute once you've sort of got it going. All right, then on my back thing, going through my next hole, and underneath I can just see my hole that I've made. It's really good instructions through this hole, through that hole. Okay, down through my next one and looking at my book spine. Oh, I just looped it. Pulling that through, down through my next one, through my book page. So this essentially is going to be like a running stitch that I come and fill in both directions. So through my next hole, I will tighten this up. It's not that tight yet. Oops, just hooked onto a pin. Sorry, hooking on the edge of the cupboard. And then I think I'm up to this one. And then my last one. Okay. Now I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just going to tighten this now that I'm pulling the threads on either end, which is tightening it. Now pretty much I'm doing the exact same thing, so I'll be filling in the gaps. Okay, on the front side, just checking I'm going through the same spot. I'm pulling it tight as I go. Good. Floppy, floppy, floppy. So I've just hooked on one of my buttons on the back. it tight. Okay, now with this one, I don't come up through the last hole. This is where I'm going to pull both my threads tight to make sure that the stitching's really secure, and then I'm going to do a good knot. Okay, I'm going to knot it a few times just to make sure it's really strong. And then I can cut off my tails. Okay, so my signature is now attached to that spine. All right, now this last bit is just going to be an explanation because I'm not going to do it until I get my last signature in. I would get my book spine and I would just eyeball to center where I want my pages to sit in my book, and I would apply glue all over the back here. Now remember that the other two will be stitched down, so if you imagine that this is also attached in the same method, so I'd have this whole thing here all attached. I would glue here, and firstly I'd stick down, not the fabric yet, I'd stick down this part, so I'd stick that. And once I feel that that's in place where I'd want it, I'd check both sides, make sure it's where I want. Then what I would do is I would not worry about having too much glue in this little gap here, but just have it on the page here. So I glue the fabric down there, and then I just put glue on the back of the book here and glue the fabric down there. And then while it dries, I actually want these to stand up so it doesn't pull the spine out. You know, I might put a couple of my sewing boxes, for example, and squish that in either side to allow it to dry standing upright. Okay, hopefully this all makes sense to you. So this would then be attached once it's dry. To cover up this piece of fabric, what I do is I'm going to, and I'll do this next week and show you, I'd put another piece of fabric over the top. I could even have a little pocket, which I might decide I want to do a pocket. And the same on the back, I'd have a piece of fabric covering that up and a little pocket, and then my book would be nicely in place. And that's a really solid spine now. That was floppy before, but with that piece of cardboard in there, that's become nice and rigid. Okay, and once all of that's done, I think, look at that, I love that. Look how chunky that is, that's awesome. And it kind of fits perfectly. It's not too wide. I was worried it was going to get too wide. Then the last thing I will do, and I'll be up to doing this next week, is I'll attach my wrap. My wrap, which is going to go on the outside. Okay, so I'll be ready to do that one next week. Okay, so I hope this all makes sense to you, how to add it in, your signatures in with a hidden spine. If you have done the technique where you've done pages like me, that shows you how to sort of stitch them in place. I like doing all these little stitches here. There's so many because that's not going anywhere. I could have even done one more on the end if I wanted to, but it doesn't matter. It's not an issue that it's a little bit detached there. If you were making a soft cover book, you actually could machine stitch this straight to your cover if you wanted to, but because I'm using a hard cover, I have no choice other than to glue it in. All right, so does that make sense? I hope so. Anyway, that's all I'm doing for today. Like I said, I will come back with a video soon about the Christmas winter journal. I have 2 more days of work, and then I have some good holiday time to get a nice intro video done for that. And then I will also have a video with my packs. They will be ready to go shortly. I do have a few things I want to do probably over the weekend and into early next week before I'm ready to assemble them and get some in my shop for sale. And I will come back next week, and the aim is to have this finished. So thank you for watching. I hope it all makes sense. Rach, if you did the accordion style book, is going to show how she does hers. So you'll be able to see that on her video as well. So I'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.